probably the most prominent one, and the one that seems to be irking people the most, is the dome versus no dome topic. The dome that I'm referring to is the Truman Show / enclosed world / dark city kind of dome. And not to be confused with the firmament, which is an entirely different term, in my opinion, and one that needs to be defined before we go a whole lot further with our dialogue in the community. The firmament is a biblical term, and it refers to in Genesis, in the creation story at the beginning of the Bible, about how the order and how God created the earth. And it is purely biblical with regards to, well, kind of also in some of the other religions outside of Christianity, but I'm specifically talking about the firmament with regards to the biblical term. And the explanations for what the firmament is pretty, open for interpretation for the most part, because there's many different ways that people are arguing about interpreting what the firmament means, and not only the firmament, but other aspects of what's enclosing the flat Earth. But regardless of what it says, there are there's an argument as to whether there's an enclosure or not. That's one argument. The other argument is whether it's a glass dome or whether it's a shield, an energy electromagnetic shield of some kind, or whether it's the size of it. Whether it's like the Truman Show, where just sort of stops at a boundary, and then we have no idea what's beyond that. I don't really think at this point that there is anything to argue about, because there's too many things we don't know. Nobody knows. Now, maybe somebody knows, like somebody that's been farther across the Antarctic ice than you or I have, and maybe Admiral Byrd knows something, but the average general new flat earth layperson doesn't have a clue, other than people are starting to do some extrapolations based on some experiments of things like sun gods, or sun dogs, as some call them. And I've seen videos where, they show holding a lighter or a candle inside of an upturned glass bowl and moving it, and you can see the sort of triple light effect of a reflection. There's other things that have led people to believe that there's some sort of a reflective glass type dome. Things like rainbows being arced or dome shaped. My personal opinion as to whether or not there's a dome or not really doesn't make any difference to anybody. The only reason why I'm even bringing this up is because it's a point of contention. It's a point of division, and I think people need to sort of step back from that, and whether there is a dome or no dome, it's not a deal killer for the flat Earth. Whether there's more land and they're hiding more land, that's been another argument. There's no way of knowing that until we can independently explore the land that we now can't go onto freely anyway. Anybody who's a flat Earth believer can't believe that Antarctica is anything more than you know, what's holding in the perimeter of the oceans. And so whether you want to call it an island or not, people keep arguing about these aspects of flat Earth and creating these little mini pockets of what people choose to believe, rather than trying to find the common goal of proving that the Earth is not a ball, rather than trying to prove what it is. I don't really understand why. Well, I do understand, because it's kind of historical that this is the way that it happens. Most people say, well, we need to create a system that we can move to before we bring down the system that we have that isn't working for everyone. Well, who's going to agree to what all that is? And how is that agreement going to be arrived at? The reason why there's such a thing as a New World Order is because those people have organization and an agenda and meetings and discussions and think tanks and all kinds of other, organizational methods to come up with the New World Order. But the flat earthers are an independent bunch of people who are questioning the veracity of the place we live. Said no leaders from the beginning, and I've stayed with no leaders all the way through. There's still people who are looking at other things like concave Earth, for example. I've already looked at that, and I've already tossed it out. It doesn't resonate with me. Flat Earth resonates with me. The dome does not resonate with me. A firmament, perhaps, over a much larger area than what this, perfect glass, like a cake plate covered dome thing seems to be the hit at the moment. And maybe it's because you can make a model of this dome glass thing and have a see-through model to make animations or whatever with. But while we're all arguing about domes and no domes and about concave and all these other things, and dividing and subdividing and even subdividing more, we're becoming so fragmented that what I thought was beginning to be a movement, to me, a movement means we're moving together, like water on the beach, or like a flock of birds flying, or a school of fish. That was sort of, we were all headed in some similar direction. But as the months go by, and I'm in this full time, I guess you would call it, since March of this year. Lots of people have been in it a lot longer than that, for years. And people are coming into it every day. And those are the ones that I'm the most concerned about, is the new people. Because here we are making all this effort by putting on our Facebook pages and making YouTube videos by the gazillions and talking about it with our family and friends. And the purpose of that should be to awaken more people and bring more people into the movement, only for them to walk in the room and there's like a total chaos going on in the room. They don't even know, like, what are we doing? What is this? This is not a meeting. This is not a party. What is this? And then they, I can just see them going, trying to figure out, now what is all this arguing and screaming about? So the longer you've been in it, the more you've taken the time, just like with anything in the truth movement, anything in the conspiracy theory movement, the longer you've been in this, the more educated you become and the more knowledgeable you are. And then sometimes the more you figure it out, or the opposite can occur, and the more confused you become. So, we've already been really far, really fast in the last 6 months. Because I look back to, April and May of, April was when I created the Facebook group. We just went over 1,300 members in a closed group, which I'm happy with. But yet at the same time, I can't even tell you how many times I've been called a shill just because I'm come up with what I think is something to have an opinion about. I want everybody to consider that's arguing about domes and no domes and who's at fault and what we should be doing and who the leaders are or shouldn't be or any of that stuff. Who's a shill, who's not a shill. Remember that all of the efforts that we've been doing over the last 6 months to get new people to wake up to flat Earth, it's now coming to fruition. And they're coming on board. As a group admin, as a group creator, I am adding people, every single day to the multiple groups that I run. And I'm watching the YouTube, subscribers go off the scale. And I'm very happy about it, but I'm also concerned about what they're walking into, that they're walking into this chaos, that we should be a little more organized by now, at least in our one goal of just waking more people up, and for us to have found the ability to target at least who it is that we all have a problem with, like NASA, for example. So that said, I didn't mean to even create anything that looked like an admonishment or, bad flat earthers, you're bad. What I really wanted to do was to just open a place in your mind for when you are in a group on Facebook or you're in the comments in a YouTube video and you start calling somebody a dumbass because they have a different opinion about what the model of the flat earth means to them. Stop and think about that for a minute, because just because you're so sure on what you believe, what if you find out that it isn't at all what you think it is?